His mentor is going to introduce him.
Okay, thank you, David. My name is Eric Games. I'm an associate professor in the MCAS department. And today, Logan Driver is going to make a presentation of network security, the integral role of firewall.
Hi, so my name is Logan Driver, and I would like to introduce what a firewall is, firewall implementations, some types of firewalls. I'd like to very briefly introduce Linux and introduce firewall utilities in Linux. So a firewall is a network security device that monitors incoming and outgoing network traffic, decides whether to allow or block specific traffic based on a predefined set of security rules. It's basically a barrier which is located between the internet and the private internal network. So two common implementations include hardware and software. A hardware firewall is a system which works independently from the computer it protects. It provides various services and protects the computer by filtering incoming information to the computer from the internet and determining if it is safe or malicious. This is the HUNSN RS-36 hardware firewall. So a software firewall is a computer program that inspects data coming to and from the computer it belongs to. Software firewalls are customizable to filter incoming data to determine if it is malicious and outgoing data to determine if it is being used on an attack. Software firewalls must be installed on individual computers, meaning that it will only protect that computer. Two basic types of firewalls include stateful and stateless. A stateful firewall monitors the state of active network connections and tracks them while analyzing incoming traffic and searching for malicious threats. State is the most recent status of a process or application. The firewall stores the state of connections or network sessions and provides a list of connections which are compared to the connection the user is trying to make. If the packet belongs to a connection that is established, the packet can bypass some security, and that would depend on the firewall's configurations. A stateless firewall uses the information located in a packet's header to evaluate the packet. The header contains information like IP addresses, port numbers, and other relevant data. The firewall uses this information to either allow or deny the packet based on the predetermined criteria set by the firewall administrator or the network security team. Relevant definitions. A data packet is a small particle like a message. So the message is divided into packets when sent, and then the packets are recombined back into the message by the receiver. Internet protocol, or an IP address, is a unique address that identifies a device on the internet or a local network. The port is a virtual point where connections start and end. So this is an extremely brief introduction to Linux. It is, like Windows, it is an operating system. An operating system manages the communication between your software and your hardware. And Linux also, like Windows, utilizes firewalls. So I would like to cover three firewall utilities in Linux. I would like to introduce IP tables and briefly introduce firewall deep and uncomplicated firewall. Skip the slide there. So before diving into IP tables, I would like to define some terms. Linux kernel. The kernel is located at the core of the middle of the operating system, right between the hardware and the processes. The kernel is software that acts as a hardware interface for the user. It allows the user to indirectly talk to the hardware. The kernel is responsible for things like memory, process management, the device drivers, and system calls, and security. User space is an area in memory where the applications and processes for users run. Kernel space is a virtual address space that is reserved for the kernel's use. So kernel space encompasses the memory addresses where the kernel and its associated data structures reside. And it is separate from user space. So the utility firewall is a software firewall protecting specific services. NAT is network address translation, and it is a way to map multiple private addresses inside a local network to a public IP address before transferring the information onto the internet. Packet filtering is the process of examining data packets as they traverse a network firewall. The firewall analyzes each packet and compares it to existing filters that contain information that can be used to identify malicious data. If it has the predefined malicious characteristics based on the filters, it will be discarded. Otherwise, if it is determined the packet is safe, it can continue to pass through the network. And routing is the process of choosing a path for traffic between one or more networks. So IP tables is a firewall utility that lets users configure things like packet filtering rules and network address translation type. And it works along the kernel's NetFilter architecture. NetFilter is a firewall or packet filtering system responsible for managing network traffic in Linux. Data packets interact with the NetFilter architecture at various stages of their journey through the network using hooks. Hooks are specific points in the network flow which intercept and manipulate packets. Some hooks include pre-routing, input, forward, output, and post-routing. IP tables exist in the user space and allows the user to define rules within the NetFilter framework for handling packets via the command line. So, some hooks you have are pre-routing, and it intercepts the packets prior to routing decisions. Input, if a packet is destined to the local system, it's going to trigger the input hook. Forward, packet setting to another system through yours will trigger this hook. This mainly concerns system acting as routers and gateways. Output, if a packet is leaving the local system, it will trigger the output hook, and the post-routing hook is triggered after the packet has undergone routing decisions. So in IP tables, you have tables, and their structure is at the top level, and they're used for organizing rules. So 4 default tables are filtered, which filters packets based on criteria. That could be like an IP address or port. You have NAT, which is used for network address translation, and altering the source or destination of a packet. Mangle is used for certain special packet alterations, so that might be changing the header of the packet. And RAW is mainly used to mark packets to bypass connection tracking, and that would be monitoring the state of network connections. Rules are the individual instructions that describe how a packet should be handled. The rules have a set of criteria and the action to initiate if this criteria is met. Rules can be either terminating or non-terminating. Terminating rule means the processing will stop and the packet either is or is not accepted. Non-terminating means the processing continues on with the next rule in the chain. Chains are a concept in IP tables that describe a predefined set of rules which determine what happens to a packet. Some default chains include the input chain, and this processes packets headed to the local system, the output chain, which processes packets headed out of the local system, the forward chain, which processes packets being routed through the system, and users can also create their own custom chains. Targets are the actions that IP tables will take if a packet matches the rule. And some common targets include accept, so it will let the packet through, drop, does not let the packet through, and does not alert the sender. Reject, does not let the packet through, and alerts the sender, and logs the information about the packet. A firewall management tool for various Linux distributions. The Firewall D is a firewall management tool for various Linux distributions. It is a zone-based firewall, meaning it affords different trust levels to different network connections. It can easily open ports, block IP addresses, manage zones, and add GUI for easier management. It's much simpler than IP tables. So network zones are a configurable boundary that you can use to grant or restrict access to computers and devices in your organization based on the IP address that is requesting access. So you could logically separate into departments on a business network. GUI is a graphical user interface, which is a digital interface in which a user interacts with graphical components such as icons, and CLI is command line interface, which is a text-based interface where you can input commands that interact with the computer's operating system. this is an example of CLI, and it's running a PSOS command, and that is a command which just outputs the status of all processes on Linux. So UFW is the user friendly configuration tool for Ubuntu and other Debian-based Linux systems, and those are distributions of Linux. And because Linux is open source, there are various distributions of it. It's a front end for IP tables, meaning it also provides a framework for managing NetFilter, and it provides an easy and uncomplicated command line interface that tries to simplify IP tables commands. GUFW is the graphical version of UFW, and it uses a GUI. So we define firewalls and cover 2 firewall implementations, hardware and software. We covered 2 types of firewalls, stateful and stateless. Finally, we covered Linux and 3 firewall utilities in Linux, IP tables, firewall deep, and uncomplicated firewall. And yeah.
Questions for our speaker?
Yes.
Coming from not being a computer science person, so and I'm not familiar with Linux, I don't use Linux systems, but is the IP table, is it only command, or do they actually have, because I'm a GUI person, I like everything wrapped in a user-friendly version. Do they have IP tables that are initiated through that platform?
It is a command line interface utility, so you would have to use the command line interface as far as I know.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
You have to help me now, I don't know. I've never heard of IP tables, so is it just a way to actually increase, I mean, are they built into the system, or is it actually something you can execute there?
So it is it's in the user space, and what is built into the system is NetFilter. So NetFilter has hooks as the packet moves through the system, and hooks just interact with it at different points, like at pre-routing and as it moves through the network. IP tables is in the user space, and that means that it's going to talk to the kernel and interact with the NetFilter architecture in the user space, because you have to interact with that through the user space. So, and it is command line based.
All right, any last questions? Well, we've done it, you guys. Let's thank our speaker.